While the whole internet was busy debating the US, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, geopolitics had plenty of other tea brewing. My name is Tanya and I bring to you Geopolity with your weekly spill of the international news that you might have missed. First up, we have Egypt quietly encircling Ethiopia. So Egypt and Ethiopia have been fighting for years over Ethiopia's massive dam on the Nile River, because Egypt gets 90% of its water from that river, and it's kind of terrified that the dam will cut its supply. But now Egypt has stopped just talking about it and started acting on it. It struck port and defense deals in Eritrea and Djibouti and quietly sent around 10,000 troops into Somalia. So piece by piece, Egypt is building a ring of military and political influence around Ethiopia. And this is not just a water fight anymore, because it has turned into a full regional power play. Ethiopia is accusing Egypt of trying to suffocate it, and when two of Africa's biggest militaries start circling each other like this, the risk is not just diplomatic tension. It's the kind of standoff that can spiral really quickly. Next up, we have the other half of the same story. Ethiopia wants the sea, and that is kind of becoming everybody's problem, especially in the Horn of Africa. So Ethiopia has been landlocked since Eritrea became independent in 1993. So today it depends heavily on neighboring Djibouti for most of its maritime trade. So Ethiopia naturally has been searching for other options. In 2024, Ethiopia signed a deal with Somaliland for access to the Berbera ports. But Somalia rejected that deal because it considers Somaliland part of its own territory. And Egypt backed Somalia on this. But Ethiopia's search for sea access doesn't even stop there. It has also shown interest in Eritrea's Assab port. So this is no longer just about trade. Ethiopia's search for a route to the sea is bringing Somalia, Somaliland, Egypt and Eritrea into a wider struggle over ports, naval access and influence in the Red Sea. And given Ethiopia and Eritrea's history of war, a dispute over access to the sea could quickly become a much bigger regional security problem. Next story is coming from Indonesia playing hardball with its nickel. So Indonesia has the world's largest nickel reserves, and now it is tightening its grip on them. It has cut nickel mining quotas, raised taxes and tightened rules around how the metal is priced and processed. And this comes as Indonesia is negotiating greater access for US companies to its critical mineral sector, while Chinese companies already dominate much of its nickel processing industry. So Indonesia is showing how a resource-rich country can turn a raw material into geopolitical leverage. Instead of simply exporting nickel, Indonesia is forcing more processing to happen domestically, meaning more of the value stays in Indonesia. And for countries like India and many of global south countries trying to build their own critical mineral supply chain, Indonesia is basically a live case study in one question. Can you control the resource, or will someone else control the industry built around it? Next story is a tech story, because Bluetooth apps are beating internet shutdowns. A new wave of messaging apps doesn't need the internet at all. Apps like BitChat, Briar and Bridgefy can send messages directly between nearby devices using Bluetooth without needing mobile data or Wi-Fi. And because those phones can pass messages between one another, they can create a mesh network. And this Bluetooth-based messaging has been used during internet disruptions, because internet shutdowns are becoming an increasingly common tool during protests, conflicts and political unrest. But if people can now just route around a shutdown completely, then that tool stops working. And this is a quiet tech shift with a very loud political consequence. Next story is Japan's aging population. So Japan's population is aging fast. Nearly 30% of its population is over 65. So there are fewer workers generating new economic activity, while more people need pension income and returns on their savings. And Japan already has this enormous accumulated pool of financial wealth, but it needs that wealth to keep generating returns. And this creates a massive competition for capital. Financial centers from America to Southeast Asia to India's gift city are building the infrastructure, regulations and investment products needed to attract global money. So whoever builds the right pipes first, India, US or Southeast Asia, gets a serious economic boost. And it's a quiet contest that almost nobody is watching. Next story is Nepal's unrest. So Nepal is dealing with a wave of communal violence, and it started with what looked like a local religious dispute. In late July, clashes broke out between Hindu and Muslim groups in Nepal's southern plains after tensions surrounding religious processions, flags, and loudspeakers escalated. The violence then spread to other parts of the Terai with deaths, injuries, property damage, and curfews forcing authorities to deploy security forces. Now, Nepal has historically been seen as one of South Asia's more religiously tolerant societies, but this is exposing some serious communal fault lines. And Nepal's southern plains sit directly along India's open border. So when communal tensions, religious polarization, and misinformation move across borders, they do not necessarily stay confined to one country. What looks like a local Hindu-Muslim clash could therefore become part of a much bigger South Asian problem. Next story is from Romania because it just declared a month-long energy emergency. What happened was a severe drought and extreme heat wave have pushed the Danube to record low levels, cutting hydropower production and even threatening the cooling water supply of Romania's nuclear power plant. One reactor has already been shut down. Authorities have literally blown up a rock obstruction in the Danube to redirect water towards the remaining reactor, and they're even preparing for more emergency measures to keep the power system running. And this is not just a Romanian problem. Across Central and Eastern Europe, record low river levels are putting both hydropower and nuclear power plants under pressure. And as heat and drought become more frequent, Europe's energy security may increasingly depend on something as unpredictable as the weather. And that is all for this week's tea. So subscribe to this channel and follow along, because next week I'll be coming up with more stories that you probably missed in the noise of the internet.